When the universe selects a soul for purpose, anything sent to break them becomes fuel for their rise and poison to the sender. Did you see what they did? No, really. Did you see it? They laughed when you were crying. They smiled when you were struggling. They made you the punchline in rooms you were never even invited to. They mocked your heart, your mind, your purpose, like it was all a joke. How dare they? They thought you were soft. They thought you were weak. They thought the universe must have made a mistake choosing you. They couldn't see your glow, only your pain. And when you were at your lowest, they threw stones and hid their hands. They tried to make your breakdown a show. They wanted your name in the dirt. They wanted to ruin you. And now it's burning them alive. Before we go deeper, like this video, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments if you're taking back what they tried to break. When you interact, it tells the algorithm to push this message to more chosen ones. More people like you. People who've been lied on, laughed at, left behind, but never defeated. Now, let's get into it. You weren't imagining it, the way they talked behind your back, the looks, the rumors, the fake love. They wanted you destroyed, and some of them weren't even subtle about it. They laughed when you failed. They clapped when you cried. They sent bad energy your way and watched from a distance, waiting to see if you'd fall. And you almost did, didn't you? You doubted yourself. You questioned your power. You let their words echo louder than your truth. You started to shrink. You started to think maybe they were right. Maybe you were the problem. Maybe you were too emotional, too much, too broken. But you weren't broken. You were being rebuilt. You weren't losing. You were being hidden for protection. They thought you had no one watching your back. They thought you were out here fighting by yourself. But the whole time, the universe was holding receipts, and now it's payback season. Tell me, did they think they could play with your name and never pay for it? Did they think they could throw dirt on your purpose and keep their own hands clean? Did they think the chosen one wouldn't rise, that you'd stay down forever, that you'd stay silent while they built lies on your back? They thought wrong. Now they're confused. Now they're scared. Why? Because you didn't break. You got quiet. You got still. And while you healed, the storm turned. And now it's headed straight for them. You don't even need to clap back. The universe is clapping back for you. They said you were crazy. Now they can't sleep at night. They said you were unstable. Now they're unraveling. They said you were done, and now you're glowing like nothing ever touched you. The best part? You didn't have to do a thing. You didn't curse them. You didn't chase them. You just kept rising, and that's what's haunting them the most. So I'll ask you again, how could you ever doubt your power? How could you ever question if you were protected? Even when you were at your lowest, didn't you feel something was still holding you up? Because it was. And now they feel it too, just from the other side. And we're just getting started. So, if you felt even a glimpse of what we just spoke, the shift, the silence, the storm turning, then this message is yours. Drop the number 77 in the comments to confirm that you see it now. That the mask is off. That karma isn't just knocking, it's tearing the door off the hinges. Every comment, every like, every share tells the platform, this truth is alive. Don't just watch, help this reach the next chosen one who's still questioning if they're imagining it. You're not. They learned their lesson. Now it's time you learn yours. And trust me, what's coming next is where it gets even more real. The kind of truth that doesn't just sound good, it cuts. So if you're truly chosen, if you've felt the reversal starting to creep through the cracks of your past pain, then something in you already knows you're not going anywhere. Let's get into it. Number 1. They called the storm. Now they're drowning in it. They prayed for your downfall, danced in your pain, and laughed when they thought you were done. Now they're drowning in the storm they begged the universe to send, but forgot it was aimed at them all along. They should have left you alone. That's the truth. That's where all of this could have stopped. This could have been normal, peace, distance, maybe silence. But no, they thought mocking a chosen one would be fun. They thought plotting behind your back was a game. They thought throwing shade, whispering lies, and wishing destruction on someone divinely aligned would come with no price. And now they're paying in full, interest added. See, they didn't understand what it meant to be chosen. They looked at your flaws and thought you were fragile. They saw your silence and assumed you were weak. They mistook your isolation for punishment, not protection. They assumed because the world overlooked you, the universe had too. But the universe was never late. It was patient. It was watching. It was recording. It was calculating the exact moment to flip the storm they sent right back onto their heads. And now they're choking in the same flood they cheered for. This is what happens when someone tries to declare war on divine purpose. When they play with the peace of someone chosen, they don't just start a petty fight. They activate a force they were never built to survive. You don't attack a chosen one and walk away blessed. You don't touch sacred energy and expect to stay clean. You don't ask for someone's downfall while smiling in their face, and then cry when your own life starts crumbling. They called the storm. Now they're stuck in the middle of it. You've seen the signs. Their mind's not right. Their energy's off. Their name, once loud, now whispered in discomfort. They post less. They smile less. They're not moving the same. The people they used to impress? Gone. The fake confidence? Cracked. Their aura? Glitched. Their peace? Non-existent. They're waking up in the middle of the night, sweating, heart racing, anxious for no reason. Some of them are seeing shadows, hearing things, living in silence because they can't even trust their own thoughts anymore. That's not bad luck. That's return energy. That's the boomerang of destruction doing its rounds. Let's be clear, you didn't do this. The universe did. The same universe they pretended didn't exist when they slandered you. The same universal law they mocked when they tried to rip your spirit apart. The same alignment they laughed at called fake, while you cried yourself to sleep, wondering why they turned on you. The same force that stayed quiet when they were loud, and now roars when you say nothing. Tell me, do you still doubt it? Do you still question if you were protected? Don't lie, you did. You sat in rooms alone and asked, why is this happening to me? You begged for explanations. You cried out for answers. You wondered if you were cursed, if you were too sensitive, if maybe they were right about you. You started to lose yourself in their noise. And even while you held on, a small voice inside you kept asking, if I'm chosen, why does this feel like punishment? But it wasn't punishment. It was purification. It wasn't abandonment. It was alignment. Because while they were laughing, the universe was writing. While they were plotting, the universe was building. And when the time was right, it unleashed a storm they could never prepare for. And let's talk about that storm. This isn't just losing jobs. This isn't oops, bad timing. No, this is full system failure. Their peace, gone. Their mind, unstable. Their connections, breaking. Their money, slipping. And the worst part? They don't even know where to start fixing it. They're trying to act normal in public while their private life crumbles under the weight of the very lies they told about you. Because here's the thing, They didn't just attack a person, they attacked purpose. They attacked someone who was placed here to shift timelines, break generational chains, and carry light in places most people can't survive. They attacked someone chosen to rise after every attempt to bury them. You think that goes unnoticed? No. That wakes up something ancient, something eternal. And when that wakes up, the entire energy around them changes. That's what they feel now. Not guilt, not regret, fear. Because something is watching them now. Something is walking beside them, the same way it walked with you. The same presence they mocked is now hovering over their own life. And they can't shake it. They can't escape the karma they invited. They can't dodge the return of energy they released. They summoned a storm, and the sky answered. Do you know how many people carry scars from battles you were never meant to survive? Do you realize how many of your enemies can't even explain why they feel like they're losing their grip? It's because they came for you. It's because they laughed at your tears. It's because they told people lies about you that became their own truth. Look around. Haven't you noticed the shift? People are starting to see. The ones who judged you are questioning what they believed. The ones who left you are realizing what they walked away from. And the ones who tried to destroy you, they're living the very nightmare they planned for you. You are the storm they called, and now they're drowning in everything they sent your way. So don't hold back your power. Don't play small to make others feel better. Don't second-guess your strength just because your path was hard. You weren't chosen for ease. You were chosen for impact. And now the weight of that impact is being felt everywhere your name was disrespected. You didn't come to prove anything. You came to survive everything. And now the proof is showing up, not in your words, but in their downfall. They called the storm. Now let them drown in it. And you rise. Number 2, they laughed while you bled. Now they're screaming while the walls close in. The same silence they left you in is now screaming in their ears. They laughed, not quietly, not respectfully, loud, shameless, open. When you were at your lowest, when your world was collapsing, when your soul was bleeding through every crack in your life, they laughed. They didn't just walk away, they clapped, they whispered, they turned your pain into a performance. They shared your struggle like gossip, turned your name into a joke, passed your wounds around like entertainment. They looked at your isolation and said, "See, no one wants them." They saw your sadness and said, "Look, they're losing it." They saw your silence and said, "They're finished." And now, those same mouths can't form words. Those same eyes are wide open in panic. Those same voices are whispering behind closed doors because they know what's coming. And it's not karma, it's justice with a long memory. See, they thought you were bleeding for attention. They thought your breakdown was for show. They saw your vulnerability and mistook it for weakness. But what they never realized was this: the universe keeps receipts. And when someone makes a mockery out of pain that was sacred, personal, transformational, that pain turns into fire. That fire turns into pressure. And that pressure, it returns. Now the walls are closing in on them, and this time no one's laughing. You feel that shift, the quiet around them, the sudden change in energy. That's the same silence they left you in. Now it's following them. They don't post like they used to. They don't talk like they used to. They don't have that boldness they used to fake. Why? Because they're not just scared of exposure. They're scared of the truth finally catching up. They're scared because they know the storm isn't done yet. You want to know why it hurts, why it still stings, even after all this time. Because some of the people who laughed, you loved. You trusted them. You gave them access. You gave them your story, and they gave it to strangers. That betrayal, that's what makes this real. But here's the truth they'll never say out loud. They need your downfall to make their life feel whole. Because your rise terrifies them. Because if you ever healed, if you ever stood tall in your full power, they'd be exposed as cowards, as liars, as frauds. They weren't better than you. They were just louder during your storm. But now that the storm has shifted, they're not laughing anymore. And you, yes, you, stop pretending you didn't feel this. Stop acting like you're surprised. Stop gaslighting yourself into thinking they didn't mean it. They meant it. They enjoyed it. And that's exactly why this shift is happening now. The universe isn't petty, it's precise. And when it decides that the show is over, it pulls the curtain back. Now everyone sees who they really are. Now their own friends whisper behind their backs. Now their support system is crumbling the same way they hoped yours would. Remember when they said you were too much, too dramatic, too unstable? Now they can't hold a conversation without spiraling. Now they can't sit in silence without losing their grip. That's not coincidence. That's echo. It's the echo of every joke they made while you were bleeding. It's the echo of every eye roll, every fake concern, every lie they told when you had no energy to defend yourself. And now, the energy has turned. So don't you dare shrink now. Don't you dare question whether you're allowed to rise. Don't you dare feel guilty for glowing when they're falling apart, because they weren't innocent, they weren't confused, they were cruel. And now they're being corrected. You didn't ask for this revenge, but the universe gives out what was earned. You just kept healing. You just kept walking. And now that the noise has stopped, now that the dust is settling, it's their own shadows screaming back at them. They laughed while you bled. Now they're gasping while the walls close in. Let them. You owe them nothing. No response, no reaction, no reminder. You just keep rising. Because your survival wasn't just strength, it was a sentence, and they're serving every second of it now. Number 3, they declared war on your spirit, but you had allies they couldn't see. They weren't fighting you, they were fighting a force their ego couldn't comprehend. They thought it was just you, just one person, just one target. They looked at your silence and mistook it for weakness. They saw your heartbreak and called it a breakdown. They counted your isolation as defeat. They thought, we can break this one. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't see, is that when someone is chosen, they never walk alone. You weren't unarmed. You were just covered. You weren't broken. You were being backed by something they couldn't recognize. Because the universe doesn't send the chosen into battle empty. It sends them with armor, alignment, and ancestors standing shoulder to shoulder with their destiny. And that's what they didn't account for. They thought they were fighting a wounded person. They didn't realize they were declaring war on divine alignment. They thought it was about hurting your feelings, damaging your reputation, sabotaging your growth. But the second they came for your spirit, they didn't just cross a line. They opened a war zone they weren't built to survive. They didn't understand spiritual law. They didn't understand how protection works. They didn't realize that everything surrounding your life, even your silence, was strategic. And now, the backlash isn't coming from you. It's coming from everything that stands with you. Because they weren't just fighting your emotions. They were fighting timing, purpose, energy, all the invisible forces that shield the chosen. And when that happens, there's no winning. Because ego may make them bold, but ego doesn't protect anyone from truth. And now the truth is here, and it's undeniable. Why do you think everything in their life is glitching? Why do you think the doors they used to walk through are now locked? Why do you think the people who used to follow them are backing away? Because the universe doesn't let you attack someone on assignment and continue like nothing happened. You attack the chosen, you activate their covering, and when the covering moves, it doesn't play games, it cleans house. And let's talk about that covering. You ever wonder why you didn't fully break? Why, even in your lowest moment, something held you together? Why you felt like giving up, but something in you wouldn't let go? That something was your spiritual defense, the armor built for your purpose. The reason the energy they sent didn't land. You didn't survive that storm by luck. You were protected by design. And still, you doubted. You questioned your strength. You told yourself maybe you were imagining things. You wondered why you kept losing people, why you were always the one under attack. But now that the truth is showing itself, do you finally see what you were carrying? They saw you as small, but your presence made their demons nervous. They thought you were weak, but your energy triggered every fake mask in the room. They wanted you to believe you were alone, but the universe had your back the entire time. They tried to turn people against you. They tried to isolate you. But isolation for a chosen one isn't exile, it's elevation in disguise. Because while they thought you were falling apart, you were being upgraded. And while they were gathering weapons against you, the universe was sharpening yours. Let them panic now. Let them feel the shift. Because what's happening to them, it's not bad luck. It's divine response. They declared war on your spirit. But your spirit wasn't alone. It was reinforced, recalibrated, and resurrected by a force their shallow minds couldn't comprehend. And now they're realizing you weren't the battlefield, you were the boundary. So let them fall, let them feel the silence, let them drown in the very energy they tried to bury you in. You never had to fight them. Your alignment did the fighting for you. You just had to stay alive long enough to watch it all return. They wanted to destroy you, but what they really did was introduce themselves to the power that protects you. And now they're paying the price for trying to shake hands with something divine while moving in darkness. You weren't fighting back. You were being backed. And now, they're not fighting you. They're fighting the consequence of underestimating what you carry. Number 4, you didn't just trigger them, you exposed them. You didn't come for their image, you just stood in truth, and the masks fell on their own. Let's get this straight. You didn't even lift a finger. You didn't need to. You didn't throw dirt. You didn't scheme. You didn't gossip. All you did was exist. And somehow, that alone caused a whole ecosystem of fakes to collapse. Why? Because your light didn't just shine, it exposed. It wasn't just your strength that bothered them, it was your truth. And the thing about truth? It doesn't shout. It doesn't need an audience. It just is. And when it shows up, anything that's built on lies starts to shake. You didn't try to ruin them. You didn't even mention them, but your energy walked into a space and every mask started melting. Because that's what real alignment does. It doesn't compete. It doesn't mimic. It stands still and reveals what isn't real. And that's what made them hate you. They were never mad at you for doing too much. They were mad at you for doing nothing. Mad that you walked in without needing approval. Mad that you had presence without performance. Mad that you had peace they couldn't fake. You didn't destroy their image, you just exposed their insecurity. Your confidence called out their show. Your calm exposed their chaos. Your growth made their stagnation obvious. Your light highlighted their shadows. And they couldn't stand it. So they turned your name into a warning sign. They started telling people you were unstable, fake, difficult, dangerous, all because you made it impossible for them to pretend. They had a reputation to protect, and you were the truth walking in human form. Let me ask you something. Why do you think people who barely know you had so much to say about you? Why do you think people who were once close to you flipped without warning? Why do you think every time you stepped into your power, they got uncomfortable? Because you weren't just triggering them, you were exposing everything they tried to keep hidden. You showed up with scars. They were still pretending they had none. You admitted your darkness. They were hiding behind spiritual costumes. You walked in honest. They were performing righteousness. And when people saw you, they started looking at them a little differently. And that scared the hell out of them. You didn't steal their spotlight. You just proved it was artificial. And once the comparison was side by side, they couldn't survive it. That's why they tried to take you down. That's why they tried to flip the script and call you the fake one. Because once real energy shows up, fake energy goes on defense. They couldn't control how others saw you, so they lied louder. But lies have short breath. And now, the masks they wore for years are peeling off in public. People are noticing. People are whispering. People are starting to see that the one they called unstable is glowing, grounded, and moving different. While the one who claimed to be solid is spiraling, snapping, and trying to hold together a version of themselves that never actually existed. And let's be real, you still doubt yourself sometimes. You still wonder if you're too much. You still replay the way they turned people against you. You still catch yourself holding back just to not make others uncomfortable. But let me ask you, was it really you that made them uncomfortable, or was it what you reflected back to them? Was it your confidence or their lack of it? Was it your healing or the fact that they refused to start theirs? Because your energy doesn't lie. And now that the dust is settling, people can finally see who was who. You were the mirror, and mirrors don't create problems. They just show what's already there. So stop dimming. Stop apologizing for your power. Stop wondering if you should have kept quiet to keep fake people comfortable. Because you didn't start the war, you just walked in wearing peace, and their masks fell like dominoes. They thought they could hide behind a false image forever. But your presence pulled the curtain. You didn't come for their image. You didn't come to expose them. You just stood in truth, and the lie couldn't survive next to it. Let them panic. Let them scramble. Let them twist the story. Because no matter how loud they get, the truth already won. And you didn't even have to lift a hand. You just had to stand. Number 5. They tried to rewrite your story, but the universe had final edit. They wrote the lie, now they're trapped in the plot twist. They thought they had the pen. They thought they could control the narrative. They really believed that if they told enough people their version of your life, your truth would disappear. They spun stories, twisted facts, exaggerated wounds, and painted you as the villain in a book they never had the right to write. And for a while, it worked. People believed them. People pulled away. You lost connections, opportunities, respect, all based on lies wrapped in fake concern and laced with quiet envy. But what they didn't know was this. The universe doesn't let false authors finish divine stories. They may have written the first draft of destruction, but the final edit, that belongs to something much higher. And now the plot has flipped. And guess who's getting written out? You didn't have to beg anyone to believe you. You didn't have to defend yourself in every room they tried to stain your name in. Because when you're chosen, your name carries weight, even in silence. Your energy tells the truth without needing a single word. And the same people who believed the lies, they're starting to question everything. Because your story didn't end in tragedy like they promised. You didn't crash. You didn't self-destruct. You rose, and your glow is making the lies fall apart. They're trapped now, trapped in the story they wrote. Because when they lied about you, they weren't just speaking, they were creating energy. And energy demands resolution. Now it's circling back. And they're stuck living in the false version of reality they tried to push onto you. They said you were unstable. Now they're breaking down. They said you were a problem. Now they're surrounded by conflict. They said you were the manipulator. Now no one trusts them. Everything they projected is bouncing back, and it's loud. Why? Because they tampered with divine authorship. They forgot you weren't writing your own story alone. They forgot the universe edits in silence and then reveals everything in perfect timing. And now that timing has arrived. You, the one they tried to erase, are now the centerpiece of a story they can't escape. You didn't have to prove anything. You just had to outlive the lie. And now your presence is the proof they can't bury. You know what hurts the most for them? You didn't clap back. You didn't break down in public. You didn't stoop to their level. You just kept moving, quietly, consistently, divinely. And that's what makes them panic now. Because they can't stop the truth from rising, and they can't hide from the fact that they tried to bury it. They tried to rewrite the story, but the universe pressed delete. Let's be honest though, you did question yourself. You wondered if the lie would stick. You saw people pull away and thought maybe it was your fault. You got tired of explaining, tired of watching people believe twisted versions of you. You almost gave up trying to be understood. And that's okay. Because chosen ones don't always get the luxury of being seen clearly at first. Sometimes the story has to go dark before the light makes sense. Sometimes the betrayal has to play out before the blessing arrives. But look at you now, still here, still rising, still written into a future they'll never be able to touch. So stop worrying about your name. Stop chasing truth. Stop hoping they'll fix what they broke. They can't, because the moment they distorted your story, they gave up their right to be part of your future chapters. Let them live in the lie. Let them sit in the script they created. Because the real story, it was never about their opinion. It was about your survival. And the universe is showing everyone, you were never the villain. You were the main character, and the only twist here is that you win. Number 6. They wanted you to break loud, but you healed quiet. They needed your reaction. You gave them results. They were waiting for the crash. Not just any crash, your crash. They wanted the fireworks. The meltdown, the breakdown that would prove every lie they told about you. They were hoping you'd lose your mind in public, lash out, scream, cry, beg, just once, so they could say, "See, told you they were unstable, told you they were crazy, told you they were fake." But you didn't give them the show. You gave them silence. You gave them distance. You gave them the kind of peace that terrifies people who only feel powerful in chaos. They wanted you to break loud. Instead, you healed in a silence that's now louder than any lie they ever told. You pulled back. You went still. You let them talk. You didn't chase down the rumors. You didn't correct the whispers. You didn't try to out-explain the noise. You let them believe they won. And that was your power move. Because behind the scenes, while they were watching your name, you were watching your growth. Your mind got clearer. Your energy got sharper. Your light started to stretch into places they couldn't follow. And now, that silence they took for weakness is haunting them. because they thought they ended your story. But instead, your evolution became the sequel they didn't see coming. They're looking at you now and asking questions they never thought they'd have to ask. How are they still rising? Why are people drawn to them again? Why does their name still carry weight after everything we did? You know why. Because while they were watching for drama, the universe was preparing your comeback, and nothing makes your enemies more uncomfortable than seeing you thrive without ever responding to them. You didn't clap back, you leveled up. You didn't drag them through the mud. You let their own energy do that. Now your peace is louder than their gossip. Your glow is exposing their bitterness. And your silence? It's speaking volumes they can't shut down. Let's be honest, you wanted to react. You wanted to call it out. You wanted to say, I see you. I know what you're doing. I know what you said. But something in you said, no, stay still. Let the universe handle this. And that voice, that higher pull, was right. Because had you responded, you would have delayed your own rise. You would have gotten tangled in battles that weren't yours to fight. You would have stood in rooms too small for your purpose. Instead, you stood back, and now you stand taller than ever. And here's the twist they never expected. Your healing is dragging their name further than your words ever could. Your progress is turning every lie into dust. Your stability is burning holes through every label they tried to stick on you. They can't outrun your growth, because every time you rise, it reminds the world they tried to stop you. Every time you elevate, it calls attention to the fact that they couldn't. They had their moment. But you have momentum now, and that's something their clout can't compete with. You see, they underestimated the kind of silence that chosen ones move in. Not silence out of fear, not silence out of weakness. Silence out of power. Silence because you knew that while they were shouting for attention, you were becoming the very thing they feared most. Undeniable. And now they feel it. They scroll past your face and flinch. They hear your name and stiffen. They watch your wins pile up, and everyone feels like a hit to the chest. You didn't expose them with receipts, you exposed them with results. That's the part they'll never recover from. Because anyone can argue a rumor, but no one can argue what they can see with their own eyes. So the next time you question whether your silence mattered, remember they were counting on your noise. They were waiting on your downfall. But the real plot twist? You healed quietly, and now your very existence is the loudest revenge there is. Number 7. They built a fire for you. Now they're begging for rain. The fire didn't consume you, it crowned you. Now it's consuming them. They built it with their own hands, dragged wood soaked in jealousy, piled it high with gossip, hate, betrayal, lit the match with a smirk, confident, cocky, convinced they were about to watch you burn. They circled the fire, waiting for the screams, waiting for your collapse, waiting for your life to go up in flames so they could say, "See? I told you they couldn't survive." But you didn't burn. You transformed. Because you weren't in that fire for destruction. You were in it for purification. You weren't being reduced. You were being refined. What they didn't realize was that they didn't light your end. They sparked your rebirth. You were never the victim of their flames. You were the weapon being forged in them. That's the thing about chosen ones. We don't panic in heat. We don't melt under pressure. We get sharper. We get quieter. We get deadlier to doubt. They thought the fire would expose your weakness. Instead, it revealed your power. And now the fire's turned. It's not coming for you, it's coming for them. Because when you set a fire with malicious intent, that energy doesn't disappear, it multiplies. They thought they were clever, setting traps with smoke. Thought no one would notice them striking the match behind the scenes. But energy sees it all. The universe saw them laugh at your ashes before they even formed, saw them plot in shadows and call it concern. And now, the flames they built for you, they're dancing at their feet. And this time, there's no shield, no audience, no cover story, just consequences. They're begging for rain now, scrambling for relief, trying to fix what they fueled. But the fire has no mercy for the ones who set it. And you walk through smoke with grace. You wear your scars like armor. You speak from the other side of the fire, glowing, because you didn't come out weaker, you came out unshakable. You ever notice how much calmer you are now? How less reactive? That's because the fire burned off what didn't belong to you. The pain, the doubt, the old identity. It scorched what was false and revealed what was real. And what's real is this. You were forged in something they couldn't survive for 5 minutes. They tried to play with heat they couldn't control. And now their life is smoldering, their peace cracked, their lies unraveling, their reputation dry grass in the wind, crumbling under the pressure they thought they'd passed on to you. That's the price of playing with fire you weren't meant to touch. And let's not lie, you questioned it. When the flames started licking at your edges, you asked, why me? Why does it hurt this much? Why is everyone turning away while I'm burning? But now you know, you weren't being punished, you were being crowned by the very thing they thought would destroy you, because the universe doesn't just protect the chosen, it tests them. It throws them into fire so that when they rise, there's no doubt what they're made of. And now that you're out of it, now that the smoke has cleared, they can't deny your glow. They can't deny your survival. And worst of all, they can't deny that their hands built the very thing that exposed them. They thought the fire was their weapon, but it became your origin story. So let them beg for rain. Let them plead for mercy. Because what's happening now, that's the universe flipping the script. The fire didn't consume you. It announced you. And now, it's consuming them. Number 8, karma isn't cruel. It's customized. The universe doesn't do random. It delivers exactly what was earned. They thought karma was some fairy tale. They thought energy had no memory. They thought they could betray you in private and celebrate in public, throw dirt on your name and walk away clean. But what they didn't understand is this. Karma isn't cruel. It's customized. You don't just get back what you gave. You get it back wrapped in everything you used to send it. The lies, the gossip, the malice, the smugness, the hands that wrote the betrayal, now shaking. The lips that twisted your truth, now silent. The mind that plotted your downfall, now spiraling. This is what happens when people forget you can't curse a chosen one and call it closure. You don't touch what's protected and expect a peaceful life. You don't spit on divine energy and then pray for grace. But that's exactly what they did. And now, the universe is responding, not with pity, not with revenge, but with precision. Every consequence they're facing. That's not coincidence. That's calculation. That's the universe saying, oh, you thought we weren't paying attention? You thought your mask fooled everyone? You thought spiritual law was just for Instagram quotes? No. The same way you sent that darkness is the same way it's walking back into your life, fully dressed and carrying your name. And you, the one reading this, you better stop doubting your power. You better stop pretending you didn't feel it shift. You better stop acting like the universe wasn't watching the whole damn time, because the reason they're falling apart now, it's not because you fought them. It's because you didn't. You stayed aligned. You kept your hands clean. You focused on healing, and while they were laughing, the energy was loading. You didn't need to throw a curse. You didn't need to chant, burn sage or hex. You just had to survive. You just had to not become like them. And that's why the backlash is so brutal, because the universe is making a statement through your silence. This is the moment you stop asking, why did they do that to me? This is the moment you stop replaying the pain and start recognizing the power it activated. They thought they were breaking you, but all they did was reveal what couldn't be broken. You didn't come out of that storm crying. You came out crowned. You didn't fall apart. You were rebuilt. And now their karma is watching your glow rise like a blade over their lies. Let that sink in. They used their free will to play in your downfall. They used their mouth to twist your story. They used your vulnerability as ammo, and now their life is showing them what that cost. No, karma isn't cruel. Karma is the most patient executioner alive. It waits, it watches, it lets them laugh, it lets them build, and just when they think they've escaped it, it drops the weight of everything they threw at you, right on their own neck. So don't you dare feel bad. Don't you dare wonder if maybe it's too harsh. Because what they did, it wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. And now they're learning that you can't manufacture pain and not expect it to echo. You were never the one in danger. They were. The moment they touched you with that energy, they signed up for a storm they were never designed to survive. So, let it hit. Let the karma rip through every illusion they built. Let it erase every fake version of them they tried to feed the world. Let it show everyone who they really are without you having to say a word. Because that's the final lesson here. You don't have to defend what's divinely preserved. You don't have to scream your innocence. The universe already knows, and the universe always settles the score. But now I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Stop doubting what you carry. Stop pretending you're regular. Stop shrinking to make room for people who were never built to understand your depth. Stop looking at your pain and calling it punishment. That pain didn't break you. It built you. It made you unshakable. It exposed the fakes. It revealed your resilience. And now, it's setting the stage for your full emergence. So walk like you're backed by alignment, because you are. Walk like you're untouchable, because in energy, you are. Walk like you've been through hell and walked out glowing, because you did. Let your light offend. Let your silence convict. Let your blessings slap their lies in the face. And let karma keep doing what karma does best, returning every seed they sowed in your name with interest. Because this isn't just about revenge, it's about restoration. And every time you win, every time you rise, every time you smile in peace, you're proving something they were terrified to admit. You were chosen, you were covered, and now you're unstoppable. And so now we've seen it for what it truly is, not karma as punishment, but karma as proof. Proof that you were never alone. Proof that everything they did only built the stage for your rise. They wrote the lie, but the universe published the truth. Now it's your time to walk boldly in what was always yours. If this message lit a fire in your spirit, like this video, subscribe for more truth the fake ones can't stand, and drop 77 in the comments if you're claiming your power back. And most of all, share this with another chosen one who needs the reminder.